The challenge of obesity is a problem for us as Canadians and for our population because of its impact on our healthcare system and its impact on the development of chronic disease. But it's also a challenge for individuals. And as an individual who's faced this challenge all my life, I really think we underestimate how complex the problem is. I used to weigh 250 pounds, and there was a moment in my life when I finally realized, okay, I have to stop this routine of dieting, losing 20 pounds or 30 pounds, and then gaining 30 or 40 pounds, and continually over life getting larger and larger. It's really important to remember that as an individual, you have to look around yourself and ask yourself, what are the things that affect my food and physical activity behaviors, and how can I change those behaviors in a sustainable and ongoing way? And it might start out as being something as simple as eating a lower fat diet. In fact, if you eat a really low fat diet, and you get used to it, you tend not to want to eat large amounts of fat. It doesn't feel good. But it may also be as simple as putting on a pedometer and counting the number of steps that you actually walk each day and setting yourself a realistic target to increase those steps. So if you're somebody who sits at a desk all day and you walk around and you don't walk around very much, as I was, I probably only walked about 5,000 steps a day when I first started to change my behavior. So I set myself a realistic goal: increase your steps by 2,000 steps, and that's something relatively easy to do. Now in my life, I actually have a goal of getting 11,000 steps most days of the week, and that forces me in the morning to get up and say, okay, how am I going to get my steps today? And I have 2 or 3 different sort of options that I use. I either walk to work, or I go for a run. And 6, 7 years ago, I never would have thought of myself as a runner. Well, I'm not sure I'm a runner. Maybe a jogger is probably more realistic. But I get out there and I do some exercise each day, purposeful exercise. It's really important to remember that this is a problem that's brought on by what you do every day, not what you do on occasion. And we always think as dieters that we can't have this or that, but it's really, we need to think about the things that we can do on occasion as a treat, as an opportunity, but also about the things that we do every day. So I've got habits now that I never had before. I park my car as far away in the lot as I can just so I can get some more steps. I get up and go for a walk at lunch. I actually have walking meetings with my staff. So a variety of different sorts of techniques, the key being what behavior change can I make that's going to make a sustainable change in the amount of activity I do or the amount of food I eat? Well, certainly being an obese person in our society is not a pleasant experience. Certainly for children, and I was obese most of my life. I did the going up and down thing probably dozens of times when I was younger. It's a very difficult challenge, and there's both self-esteem problems where we are conditioned to believe that obese people are lazy, that they're not very intelligent, and certainly as an individual, that's very difficult to sort of accept that people are going to think of you that way. But interestingly enough, you tend to think of yourself that way as well, and that's a really challenging part of being overweight or obese. And I found it took years, even after I lost weight, to get over the notion of looking at somebody else who's obese and thinking the same thing about them. So I think that it's so pervasive in our society, this notion that obese people are less worthy than people who are not, that it's very, very challenging for them to get excellent jobs, to sustain that activity. I mean, I've been fortunate. I've had very good jobs, and being in an academic environment maybe is a little bit easier. I don't know, but it's not a simple matter. And we really struggle with self-esteem issues. And for many of us, our biology drives part of the problem. So I know for myself now, because I've taken the time to figure this out through counting calories and being very active, that if I want to lose more weight, and I'm still overweight, that I would have to actually eat about 1,300 calories a day in order to lose more weight. Well, that is very few calories compared to what most people eat. So, I know I have to live with the fact that I'm actually very active, I'm fairly healthy, I eat a healthy diet, and this is the size of body that I'm going to have probably for the rest, I hope in a way for the rest of my life. I hope it doesn't grow from here, but stays the same. Obesity is a major challenge both for individuals and for our population. So at the level of the individual, we as individuals make food and physical activity related decisions hundreds of times a day. Many things that go on in our environment affect our decision about how much food we eat and how much physical activity we engage in. And those things are in our social cultural environment, our political environment, our home, our school environment, and they may also be driven by our biological predispositions. So that makes obesity a really challenging problem for the individual. It makes it a very challenging problem for us as a population, because as a population we have a whole bunch of individuals. Each individual has a different set of things that affects their food and physical activity related behaviors. So it's really a very complex problem, despite the fact that many people think, oh, it's just as simple as eat less and exercise more. And it's easy to say that, but it's much less easy to do it in a complex context. And that makes the research questions as well fairly complex. How do we need to orient ourselves to recognizing that complexity and using it to our advantage, thinking about strategies that will help us help individuals with the challenge. In the fight against obesity, we tend to want to understand what causes it. And yet, it's not necessarily true that the causes are going to lead us to the solutions. So I think we need to really get our heads wrapped around the solution orientation to this problem, and to think about the complexity of the solutions, not just of the problem. Because some things we can't control and we can't change. We can't change our biology, for example. And certainly some people are predisposed to developing obesity in this, as we like to refer to it, obesogenic environment that we live. So understanding those biological mechanisms can be useful. Maybe someday they'll lead to a pharmaceutical treatment, but fundamentally we really need to tackle the environment and make changes in the environment so that the healthy choice is the easy choice for most people and most days of the week. So we really have to make it easier for people to take the stairs instead of the elevator, to choose the healthy food option instead of the unhealthy food option. And it's surprising when you think about it how easy it is in our environment to choose the unhealthy option. In fact, sometimes some people don't have access to the healthy choice. There are many people in our country who don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables at an affordable price. There are many people who don't have access to facilities where they can be physically active. So we need to think of novel ways to change this, and then to find out the impact of those changes. We need to get beyond telling people what to do. We need to make it easier for them to make those choices and to do those things.